So we recently had some really interesting tier shifts for RU, for NU, and something that I love to do is obviously talk about that. And I made a video before, but now I want to make one with my buddy EonX, who hasn't been on the channel in 3.5 years. We recently, got back in touch with each other, and he's been coming back into Mons. And we used to talk about RU a lot back in the day. So if you guys like a discussion video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and Eon, why don't you say hi, buddy?
Well, hello. I guess some things don't change no matter how long it's been.
Yeah, man, we just
I'm on the channel and we're talking about Are You?
Yep, basically we did. We had a series where we went through every RU Pokemon. We showed off like what they did, talked about like sets and stuff like that. It was actually really good. And with the tier shifts we're gonna have tier shifts again on the 15th and then again on December 1st. This is gonna be wild, dude. Like these.
Yep, exactly.
Everything's gonna be wild now. So why don't you take the first Pokemon or take everything away, or just jump into it, and I'll just
Yep. So right before I jump into the first Pokemon, I just want to give you guys that are maybe unfamiliar with how RU is handling these tier shifts. Basically, they're in alpha mode right now, and what that means is there are going to be no quick bans before November 15th. That means anything that we're going to talk about that is dropped, it is fully illegal. It will be until the 15th at the earliest.
Yeah, even if it's broken. So
right. Now 15th, tier changes. Some of these things could rise up. They could not be as good due to drops. We don't know. We'll find out when that happens, but there has been no hard date set on when the first wave of quick bans would be for RU. So as far as that is concerned, anything we talk about going to be relevant for at least a week.
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely a lot of interesting Pokemon that have fallen down. Or even risen up from tiers because of, the first Pokemon we have here, Archeops. Archeops is technically NU, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's technically
right.
It's technically NU by usage now because it did get Slush Rush.
It's actually RU.
Is it actually RU by usage right now?
Yes, it did rise up to RU.
Oh, okay, awesome. I wasn't sure because it's been a minute since I talked about. Actually, yes, it did. Okay, I see it. But I love the fact that Archeops rose up. I think it's pretty interesting because I know that while Abomasnow wasn't as important in NU, and it did end up rising as well to RU. It ended up being it's pretty cool because also Vanillix as well. And then this mon obviously getting Slush Rush because of the hidden ability item we have now. Yep. So. I love the set we have here with Hydro Pump, Bolt Beak, Blizzard, and Freeze Dry. Hydro Pump seems like really nice for punishing Steelix, which is like the best steel type.
Yes, Piloswine as well. Those are basically the only two Pokemon that could handle physical Arctozolt. So this is the reason you run special, because Bolt Beak is still going to be strong enough to kill what it needs to kill on its own.
Yeah.
And then you get these perfectly accurate Blizzards to spam off your pretty decent base 90 special attack stat. Like, it's not blowing the world away, but when you have a 120 base power stab move, or 110 base power stab move, correct? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
It's still going to hurt pretty good. This is arguably the strongest offensive Pokemon in the tier right now. This and the next Pokemon we're going to go over, being Tornadus, by far the two best offensive Pokemon in the tier right now, according to many of the top players. And Arctozolt in particular, you're using it on Hail. That's really all you're... the only kinds of teams you're going to be finding it on.
Yeah.
And I talked to one of the more experienced players. I'm just getting back into the tier, so I kind of picked some brains. And I'll give credit where credit is due. Mr. Aldo, who is one of the forum moderators, as well as the Showdown room moderators in RU. He mentioned these two as being the strongest offensive Pokemon in the tier currently. And it's pretty easy to see why. Arctozolt, it's Electric Ice type. Bolt Beam, since the start of Pokemon, has always been fantastic offensive coverage for any Pokemon that gets it. And put it on a Pokemon that outspeeds the entire tier under Hail, and you can figure out what the results would be.
Yeah.
Against offense.
Yeah, and obviously the weakness to Stealth Rock makes a thing, especially when you're using Life Orb and dying there. And it's also kind of slow as well, which I think is a big thing.
Right.
Like 229 times 2 is not that fast when it comes to a tier where it also has like Pokemon like Gardevoir, which can trace it, but it does have that's the big thing. Scarf Gardevoir can trace it, but it does have that speed tier that's above base 80s, which is very important when Passimian and Gardevoir are in the tiers. So and what I love about it is the fact that it breaks through the defensive core of Mantine plus Steelix, which is so awesome. Like
that's a big deal, and it also hits Vileplume, which is typically used to support these cores, and it still hits it really hard.
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like a great wall breaker in the tier. And the only thing you have to worry about is hitting your Hydro Pump. But like even like if you hit Steelix on the switch with Blizzard, you're good.
Exactly. Yeah, because Blizzard hits Steelix for neutral, it's stab, and Steelix even when invested doesn't have the best special defense in the world. It's good, but it's not. Combine that with the lack of reliable recovery Steelix has, and yeah, it's pretty easy to tell how easily you can wear it down with just Blizzard alone. Next Pokemon, Tornadus. This should really come as no surprise to anyone, but it's a monster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Not only does it have Prankster, which is pretty cool for I think like Rain Dance teams we have here, Rain Dance, but also Sub Taunt is really cool. It gets Nasty Plot now, which I think is really sick as well. And
Tailwind as well.
Yeah. Its ability to break through things. I really like what we have here. Rain Dance was Weather Ball, like things like Colossal will fall over, fire types in general, which obviously Colossal fell down. Yeah, exactly.
Falls over.
Exactly. So, it's able to break.
So one of the big things for Tornadus with these tier shifts, we're talking about drops, but I do want to mention the rises really quickly. At least a couple of them that really benefited Tornadus as it dropped down. There's no Bronzong, there's no Umbreon. They were RU before the tier shifts, they're not RU anymore. They rose to UU. Those are two special tanks that could reliably handle Hurricane. Umbreon, obviously, you had to be worried about Focus Blast. Bronzong would have to be worried about Knockoff, but they would at least stop Tornadus from spamming its best move, which is Hurricane. And need I remind you, UU unbanned Drizzle.
Yeah.
Which means it is allowed in RU.
The freaking Politoed, right down there.
Right? And I even spoke to some of the top players, and surprisingly, Drizzle, even though it's powerful, it doesn't feel over-centralizing, which I found very interesting. But then I kind of looked at the makeup of the tier. You have Mantine, you have Assault Vest Caparaja, you have Vileplume to help against electric attackers. So yeah, it's a little surprising that down in RU, like, Drizzle isn't super over-centralizing and busted, but, like, I mean, it's still going to be strong. I mean, it's Drizzle. What do you expect?
Yeah.
But to hear from some of the top players that it's not super over-centralizing, I found a little surprising.
I think the big thing about Torn is that, like, outside of Hurricane, which it needs the rain for, Focus Blast still misses. Which is pretty big. And I also think that, like, unless you're using Tailwind, the Scarfers in the tier are not bad, right? Like,
no,
Torn is not bulky. This is not Tornadus Therian, right? This is not Tornadus Therian. And the big thing I mentioned that as well is because Tornadus Therian can also run max HP. This one will typically not be running max HP. So like, unless you're running like some bulk up resto, whatever the hell you want to do. But I think that's a big thing about it as well. Unless it's in the rain, Rhyperior will still wall you, right? It will shrug off your attacks. You even have like special defensive Caparaja that can do something as well down there. Dragalge can eat neutral hits unless you're Specs. I think Specs is also really nasty, obviously on the rain. Goodra is there, right? Like the tier has responses, and not also to mention like Xurkitree Choice Scarf is a set that it's running. Like it's one of the sets that's running. So like it's definitely a great offensive presence, and I've seen some games with it too. But I don't think it's like it's really freaking good offensively. But I don't think it's to the point where it's like, okay, 100. Is it Torn that's broken, or is it the fact that like Drizzle's allowed with this Pokemon that pushes it over the edge? Like even if this thing has Price or Rain Dance, right? Like it having the rain immediately is something that like makes it initially crazy, right? Like,
and here's the thing I did want to bring up. We have like the set you would use under rain listed, right? Because that's usually where it's going to be found on. That's the most common team archetype Tornadus is found on. But let's not forget that it does have just coverage outside of rain. It can be used outside of rain. It's got like, you don't have Weather Ball Water to destroy Rhyperior anymore, but now you have Grass Knot to destroy Rhyperior.
Yeah. So that
yeah, if you're worried about especially defensive Caparaja, you could, or just missing Focus Blast in general, you can use Superpower as like a fighting type coverage move. And sure, it's lowering your attack stat, but your other 2 moves are probably going to be special based, so that doesn't really matter. So it's got Heat Wave if you want a more accurate special attack on Steel types. So it has other options, and I'm with you. Like, I don't think like it is super good right now.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but as far as like being absolutely broken and needs to leave the tier immediately, I just don't feel that.
No, I agree, and like it's not like other weather is bad, right? Like, rain
you have
is
hail.
Yeah, hail.
Yeah.
Rain is there. You can also use what's it called? Where's my homie right now?
I mean, Drought is there as well.
Yeah, I also want to say Gigalith is a decent one too. That
Yeah,
forces a focus blast.
Gigalith,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll also struck off hit. You can just protect to waste turns as well. Like obviously with rain being good, you might not want to use that. But like I mean, one thing that we also have this one on the list, but like Gigalith plus Slowking is a pretty decent like initial rain response, right? You go Slowking, you take the hit, you teleport, you're getting Gigalith, you get off the rain. So like, or get rid of the rain rather. So like there's not. I mean, if they go for Specs Hurricane, you just go hard Gigalith after, right? Because Slowking just gets the reach and comes back.
Yeah.
So there are responses. Not to say that I think Gigalith is top tier right now. I think before all this stuff happened, that's a nasty.
Really good. Yeah.
That's a nasty mon tier, right?
And it's still good. And it's still good, but it definitely took a hit or two. I feel like.
Yeah. But yeah.
Overall, like Tornado's super good. You're gonna see it a lot. You need to be prepared for it. There are ways around it, but it has. In fairness, as any strong offensive Pokemon would, it has ways around its own checks and counters.
Yeah. Archeops is actually one that I'm pretty excited about. I'm happy that we finally have heavy duty boots. So I mean, a mon that has 140 attack and 112 special attack. Is really nice. Like, I mean, the dual wing beat is a good option on it, or a decent offensive option. I still like acrobatics. Obviously, it's a lot stronger, but now it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to not use, an item to actually be good offensively. I would also slash like U-turn on this set, and then even like on the special side, or if you want to use mix, you can do like Meteor Beam Power Herb with acrobatics plus Earth Power. So whatever last move. That's basically it, like Meteor Beam, Acrobatics, Earth Power, and then whatever last move you want to do. So it can be a breaker of sorts, and actually like a tier where Archeops is not just straight up terrible. It's just so cool.
Yeah, this is, and I'm really happy about this, because this is, like, I've been a long time RU player. Yeah, I kind of skipped Sun and Moon, but I played Black and White, where Archeops was actually good in the tier. It has not been good in RU since then. It has been a long time. So I'm really happy to see this. Now, I don't want you to get the impression that Archeops is some top-tier meta-defining threat or anything like that, but it's good. The set I have listed is the physical set, and mainly it's purely physical simply due to the fact that the primary defensive type, or defensive steel type, is Caparaja, which is typically especially defensive, so Earthquake is going to hit it way harder.
Yeah.
And then you've got Aqua Tail to deal with Rhyperior, because it's going to shrug off Earthquake with Solid Rock and good physical bulk. But like you said, you can put U-turn on either one of those moves if like the team you're using it on doesn't care about those threats.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got multiple responses to especially defensive Caparaja, you don't really need Earthquake. If you've got multiple responses to Rhyperior, you don't really need Aqua Tail.
Yeah, and obviously you have like the standard like Taunt, Focus Sash, Endeavor, Stealth Rock type of lead if you want to try that too. Has cool options like Knockoff in its moveset as well. Like it's such a sleeper Pokemon in my opinion. It's just its ability just makes it. It sucks also that its ability works on both its attack and special attack. Like if it was just attack, it'd be a lot better as well. Like even if its special attack is like weaker, because like it's that's just good stats. Like Black and White did not miss when it came to stats, right? They just
like, it's got amazing offensive stats and the defensive stats you would expect of such an amazing offensive Pokemon. Because that just comes to the territory, but just the ability just destroyed it, man. Like it's sad.
Yeah.
But the mix that you mentioned, I haven't really seen it much. But I mean, that's not to say it's bad or anything. It's just I think people are kind of sticking more to what they've known from the past with just using more physical based sets.
Yeah, I mean, Archeops hits hard. Like that's
but I could see that mix set like kind of rising up as like maybe more people explore a little bit more, the meta develops a little bit more, and maybe it's more conducive to it. But I really feel heavy duty boots, like that's the thing that really makes it viable in RU, because now you don't have to basically have a third of your team set in stone. It's like, oh, I'm going to use Archeops. Oh shoot, I need hazard control because of its ability. But heavy duty boots lets you bypass the hazard control aspect of it to where now you've got a full team that you can try to support it with, rather than maybe 3 or 4 Pokemon to help it out.
Exactly. I mean, like this generation, we have a million defoggers, we have heavy duty boots and things like that. I think you could also just get away with choice band Archeops, to be honest. Like I still think you can, like especially with.
I mean it's possible. Yeah, but I think similar to. I'll kind of make a comparison to this, and we'll get more into this. Maybe some other time when we discuss UU, but Victini is kind of ridiculous up there right now, mainly because heavy duty boots allows you to be a lot less restrictive with team building when using it.
Oh, for sure. Though I still think Bandit is the best because there's no pursuit, personally.
Yeah, and Archeops is a similar way. Like if you want like sheer raw power, then yes, like you said, choice band definitely 100% the way to go. But if you're not wanting to feel like you're restricted in the team building phase, heavy duty boots is a huge boon for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
We have Gardevoir here, and I mean, no surprise, Gardevoir's been fantastic.
I love Gardevoir.
Gardevoir for years has been fantastic in RU, right? Last generation, amazing in RU. This generation, it's great in RU as well. They even gave it another toy, Mystical Fire, which is crazy.
Yep.
Which we don't even see on this set right now, because we have Choice Scarf with Psychic Moonblast, Trick, and Healing Wish, but you can slash Focus Blast, you can slash Mystical Fire, whatever on this set.
Yep.
A big thing about Gardevoir's traceability is pretty cool right now, because you have the Drizzle Mons and you have the Slush Rush Mons, you have the Drought Mons, so like Gardevoir traces them all.
It can reverse sweep weather.
Exactly.
Or if the opponent has like a Dragalge and you get rid of it like an Assault Vest or something,
you get their adaptability. Yep, you can hit them back with adaptability moves. And that's not to say this is just Choice Scarf, but yeah, you can use Specs Gardevoir, which has always been great. And you mentioned one which I was about to mention as well, Sheer Force. Nidoqueen's back in the game, in the tier, so that's something that Gardevoir typically would trace. And then, like, I mean, you don't have to Psychic in Nidoqueen, man. You predict the switch, go for Moonblast, something in that Sheer Force Moonblast. So, like, it's
exactly.
Yeah, it is an incredibly powerful Pokemon, and that's why we're talking about, like.
Yeah, so something I do want to mention about the Scarf sets before we kind of talk a little bit about its spec set, which is also incredibly good. But Trick, Healing Wish, I have those listed because it gives you very strong utility. And the Pokemon we just talked about, Archeops, benefits immensely from Healing Wish, allows you to play so much more aggressively with it.
Yeah.
Get knocked into defeat at its range, get burned, get paralyzed. Alright, I'll just Healing Wish back up and sweep you later.
Having new mechanics with Healing Wish is pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, one move that Scarf Gardevoir, if you're using it against rain, that I feel is very important to have, Thunderbolt or Energy Ball, whichever you prefer. But Thunderbolt revenges 100% KOs Barraskewda, which otherwise barely will hang on against Moonblast and Psychic if you don't have rocks and some chip damage on it. And nothing feels worse than throwing out a Moonblast thinking you're going to kill it, and it lives like on about 18%.
Yeah.
And you're still swept.
Yeah, and then obviously that also hits Mantine in the same regard, which you use that. Otherwise, you use Energy Ball, and you hit things like Amistar, Kabutops, plus like this.
Kabutops and Aryu. Amistar is still in UU right now.
Oh my god, I forgot. I'm sorry. I completely forgot.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. I mean, they're both rock water types.
Yeah.
We're so used to lumping them in together because they're typically in the same tiers. So, like for years, they've typically been in the same tiers.
Yeah.
The Specs Gardevoir is an amazing wall breaker, and it can kind of do similar things because, at least against Hail, simply because base 80 is higher than Arctozolt's base 55.
Yeah.
So, imagine tracing like Slush Rush on a Specs Gardevoir, and their form of speed is Arctozolt. But yeah, Gardevoir overall is fantastic in RU. I've even been using it in UU some, and it's decent there, but yeah, RU is definitely where its power level.
I mean, it's an offensive fairy, which is what it's an offensive fairy with amazing coverage, and utility. So I mean, it makes sense why it'd be good. Period. And it's always been, like I said, it's always been like a staple on teams when it came to RU. Like the Scarfers, that whenever I remember RU or anything, I think Scarf Passimian, I think Scarf Gardevoir. Like, you know, if I'm thinking about Scarfers.
Its special attack is really good. It's got very good offensive moves to utilize it with, and its speed is good enough to run a Scar set with. And at least in this generation so far, it's still fast enough to run a spec set. That's kind of been its problem before, where it's been a really good Scarfer, but that's really about it because its speed tier is just too low to be a true wall breaker.
Yeah.
But currently in RU, at least at the moment, its speed tier is very good. Just for wall breaking.
I just want to also note that its base 115 special defense is nice for like you can get like a random Hurricane from Torn, you get a Thunderbolt from Xurkitree. So like, and then you specs, you knock out Xurkitree, bro, and you get the Beast Boost.
Ooh, that's another thing you can trace with a Scarf set. Like if it's weakened, then you can come in after Xurkitree's knock something out because you're not going to try to switch directly in.
You switch in, you get to a kill. That is a Xurkitree. It has 471 special attack.
Exactly, but maybe you have something you can stack the Stealth Rock so it doesn't get the Beast Boost, and then you trace the Beast Boost and reverse sweep.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about one of the best defensive waters out there ever?
Slowking, what can I say, man? Ever since Black and White, whenever it's been in RU, it's been a top 5 to top 10 Pokemon. Yeah. And Sword and Shield right now is no different. Same person that I talked to about Arctozolt and Tornado Smiths, although he is saying basically right now that Slowking is overall the best Pokemon in the tier simply because of the utility it provides. And it's not surprising.
I mean, it was already great, dude. It was like all the special attackers. That's shoot, this thing will scrug off a Thunderbolt from Xurkitree if it needs to.
Yeah. Slowking is just fantastic. It always has been whenever it's been in RU. Like I said, it's been a top on its worst day, which was probably Oras when Alomomola was the most prominent water type. Like that was probably its worst days.
But it wasn't even bad because it would run Assault Vest and it would check things like X-Cloud and Pokemon's interior.
It would still be a top 15, top 20 Pokemon on its worst day, and then its best day it's a top 5 RU Pokemon. Yep. So, and Sword and Shield is no different, at least at the moment. It's fantastic in RU. You can run the typical heavy duty boot set, which we have listed here. You mentioned Assault Vest, it can run that. It can probably run Choice Specs. It's probably just going to be like its Galar counterpart, honestly.
Yeah, it can calm mind up if it needs to as well and do things like that. But the big thing is teleporting. Heavy Duty Boots was such a blessing for Regenerator Pokemon. They already get their health back for no reason, so now they don't have to take any hazard damage as well. And, you know, in a tier that was... it's really funny because before the shifts, this was a tier dominated by fire types, right?
Yeah.
You have Charizard, you have Salazzle, and there was a few more.
Senna scores to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
I think it dropped, although it dropped to Inu, I think, with its most recent shift.
Yeah, there's a few others as well. Colossal as well was in RU, a big one. But yeah, like before that, and then like Slowking comes back, and I mean obviously like Mantine was a nice little answer as well. But like the great thing about Slowking is it does exactly what Slowbro does. You take a hit and you teleport out. You get momentum. And why teleport over hard switching? Because you get to see what your opponent does. And you also get safe switches in. And obviously this one can Future Sight, which is pretty big. Because, I mean, the Salazzle's out, you have Slowking out. They're going to switch. You go for Future Sight as they bring out whatever. Then you switch into your counter to that Pokemon. And you force them out into another Pokemon. That other Pokemon's taking a hit from whatever's out on the field as well as a Future Sight after. So, it's really
and
nice.
You've been mentioning, like, defensive combinations for, like, Steelix. I've been mentioning Vileplume. Slowking just glues those defensive cores together so incredibly well.
Yeah.
Like I've been running a team with Steelix, Slowking, Vileplume as like the defensive core, and there's just so many games where like Vileplume will just use corrosive gas, get rid of a key item for the opponents that either allows offensive Pokemon to break through or defensive Pokemon like Slowking to just take hits that much better.
Yeah. Like I mean, like if you want, like I said, the big thing about like Slowking as a bulky water is that it has Regenerator, right? One of the best Wish Passers ever isn't currently in the game, but Alomomola is so great because it can not only heal itself when it switches out, but it'll heal its teammates, right? A lot of other Wish
By the way, just by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm not looking forward to Alamomola with heavy-duty boots, regenerating, wishing everything.
Yeah, that one's gonna be nasty, for sure. But yeah, like that's a big thing, because like, Vaporeon, for instance, is another wish passer, but it doesn't have regenerators. So, and while it does have massive HP and can wish and heal itself, and it does have momentum in flip turn now, like it does have that, it doesn't, like, it can't heal itself and it can't heal its teammates. So like, if you want a bulky water that's not necessarily the best wish passer, but it's going to take a hit and shrug it off, which is basically the same thing, right? Like, why would I wish pass if I'm going to take 40% and then come back in at 99% after? So, like, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and even the EV spread we have listed here, like, it's mixed defensive. You can go full Fist Def, you can go full Spadef, you can go Assault Vest, you can go Specs, and that's where I feel Slowking has always been at its best. Whenever it's been able to customize its EV spread, that is when it's been at its peak in RU, basically since Black and White. And it's able to do that currently, which is why it is so good.
Yeah.
You don't like special attackers, and you still want teleport. Run a Spadef set.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, you can still run Assault Vest as well if you want. I mean, one of the best moments with a Slowking is going for Future Sight and then Dragon Tailing in someone's Virizion, and then or Vileplume or whatever.
Or Beware.
Yeah.
Or
like anything, like and guys, these are, I'm not even talking about this generation. I'm talking about previous generations, because that's been happening for a while. Like, it's one of the best moments with that. Like, it's just a mon that can eat up hits. And speaking of a mon that can do damage, let's talk about Xurkitree.
Gosh. So
apparently it's manageable, by the way. That's what I've heard, because they did. I just want to preface this, my bad, that they did get rid of Tailglow as a move in the game. Really sucks for Xurkitree, because my boy Ari.
That was his main deal.
It does have Calm Mind still, though, but yeah.
Yeah, so you actually touched on what I was about to get into. We have specs listed. It can run Scarf, it can run Life Orb with Calm Mind, as you mentioned. I even ran into a Blunder Policy set with Hypnosis a couple days ago.
That sounds nasty.
I am very glad I had a healthy Vileplume still left. Otherwise, I would have been blown back. But yeah, like, it is very manageable. And again, this kind of goes to Drizzle being like super strong but manageable, being a little bit surprising. Like, you look at it, Drizzle and RU, of course that's going to be busted. Not necessarily. And again, it goes to the makeup of the tier. There are so many teams out there right now that, because of Archeops, like the threat level of it, they're running a ground type, and Vileplume just complements the ground type so well. And what's Xurkitree going to do with Vileplume? Like, yeah, I can use Volt Switch to gain momentum, but like,
I mean, it can't go split anymore and just power through.
Yeah, and that's why I feel it's probably, I can Volt Switch on the Vileplume, but once the Vileplume gets aggressive, go Steelix. You can't just Raffle kill that with Energy Ball.
Yeah, like, even then, if you're Scarf,
you're not
doing that
much.
Do
a lot, but you're not gonna insta kill it and then just be able to Volt Switch around for free. Like, it's gonna take a couple of times. And yeah, Xurkitree is super strong, but you take a look at those defenses: 83, 71, 71 with only one resistance. That's not exactly easy entry points.
No, it's for sure. It's definitely hard to get in. I do want to say, like, one of the pros of it is the fact that it doesn't have to, what's it called? It doesn't, it's a Scarfer that can outspeed base 80s, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, that's very important. That's the reason Scarf is... Many would argue Scarf is his best set for that reason, because you can get a kill, get the beast boost for your special attack, and all of a sudden now you have the Specs boost with a Scarf Pokemon that outspeeds a lot of Scarfers in the tier.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel it's best. Like, you can get rid of the ground types and go for a late game sweep, just kill something, like, they're forced to sack something, right?
Yeah, Dazzling is big because it does like 96% minimum to Passimian. So. Right.
And yeah, like, overall, it's a really good Pokemon. I don't want to try saying that it's bad or anything like that, but it's manageable. Which you want really good Pokemon in a tier to be manageable, because that shows how healthy the metagame is. And Xurkitree is manageable. It's really good, but it's manageable.
Yep. I mean, that's the big thing about it. Like,
and the last thing I'll touch on it, don't mean to cut you off, by the way.
No, go on.
But the last thing I'll mention on it, we do have Pincurchin down here. It is, I think, Inu, actually. And that was where the Blunder Policy set I found was. It was on an electric terrain team with Rising Voltage. So I do want to point out, yeah, it can be very strong with electric terrain, but then you have to get rid of ground types before it really gets going.
They use Hypnosis when electric terrain was up. That way they couldn't hit the sleep or ever get a sleep. Is that like...
No. Basically, they were using Hypnosis to try to purposely miss a move to activate.
Yeah, no, I mean I get that, but I'm just trying to think about like that's weird. With
I feel like they would use Hypnosis like outside of terrain and get to blend their policy. Like if they maybe they didn't they couldn't keep terrain up, so that was like their backup plan. Maybe I don't know.
If you had
I get the idea of like using Hypnosis to purposely miss and get your blunder policy to get +2 speed on a Pokemon with base 173 special
I mean, for
attack.
sure.
But maybe rethink where you're using Hypnosis at.
I want to note that we do have Energy Ball listed, but Grass Knot hits Steelix. Split F Steelix takes like 40 to 50% from Grass Knot. That's not Specs, and Specs Grass Knot is a guaranteed 2 KO on it always, no matter what. Whereas Specs Energy Ball is only a 40% chance to 2 KO after leftovers. So Grass Knot also will just hit hard on Rhyperior, harder on Rhyperior as well.
So. And the reason I have Energy Ball is for Gastrodon. Gastrodon is a decently common response to Arc's Assault. So that's really the main reason I have Energy Ball. But yeah, Grass Knot, 100% viable. You can definitely use it.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's physically defensive Gastrodon and not special defensive, though it should be special defensive, like Grass Knot does like 90% min, so you don't have to worry too much. Facts. So next up we have Tyrantrum, which was a Pokemon that was actually NU and got banned. I mean, it was definitely gonna happen.
Who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, I mean, it got. First off, this mon was RU and it was amazing last gen, right? Choice Band or Choice Scarf. You had Head Smash. I think did it get banned? I feel like it got banned.
It got banned in Oras. I didn't really play Sun and Moon, so I can't really attest to that. But I know it got banned in Oras.
I remember playing Sun and Moon. I saw it a lot, but I didn't see it after a certain part. I'm just gonna check super quickly because we have it. I feel like
go for it.
I feel like it didn't get banned. Okay, cool. But this just made the Choice Band set and the Choice Scarf set a lot better because previously its fighting type move was Superpower, but now it has a spam move in close combat, right? So Head Smash, close combat, Earthquake, you can run Dragon Dance as well. Like it's such a the Rockhead plus Head Smash is the biggest thing. Like
like it's had that since Oras, I believe.
Yeah, forever. Yeah.
When it finally got that hidden ability. Now we have Outrage listed here on the Choice Band set. I do want to give a passing mention to Scale Shot, which is another new move it got. I believe it got Scale Shot.
It did. It's on the usually useless moves.
Yeah. Not so usually useless on Tyrantrum because
it's not on any choice band set. I think that Scale Shot is fine. Not only does it deal with subs, but like in a metagame where they're fairies, why would you want to be locked in Outrage? Personally.
Yeah, and Scale Shot also. You mentioned Dragon Dance. And previously, in previous generations, Rock Polish was always the boosting move you would go for because +1 speed on Tyrantrum, it just isn't fast enough to sweep base 71. Scale Shot. Yeah, it lowers your defense, and that's a little unfortunate. But I mean, you've got pretty good raw defense anyway.
Yeah, and you can Home Claws.
and +2 speed, like with +1 attack, like that's incredible on a Pokemon this powerful.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the problem is where you're going to set up. That's not the best defensive typing in the world. Rock Dragon, there's going to be a lot of weaknesses there. But on the flip side, like I said, you have that good defense stat. You've got a quad resistance to fire. So there's chances to set up. If you don't want to, and the reason I have Choice Band listed, I just feel it's easier to use. Like if you're new to the tier, it's just easier to jump in and use.
Click Head Smash. Click close combat once on Steelix. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dragon Dance, as good as it is, as good as I think it will be, because I don't think it's super great right now. I think the tier is a little too fast paced, a little too aggressive.
That's basically every tier too, because Drizzle and stuff is allowed. And
yeah, but like once the meta settles, I can see Dragon Dance really coming into its own and really rewarding like the more experienced player that really understands how to position it. Because Choice Bands don't really matter too much position. You're clicking buttons, you're getting
send
kills.
It out. Yep. Like I said, I want to mention Scale Shot real quick though, because I think Scale Shot plus Home Claws is basically Dragon Dance with accuracy on your Head Smash. So I think
that's true. Yeah. But the reason Dragon Dance has been like really not preferred in previous generations, the +1 speed just isn't enough. Like in Scale Shot, like after the Dragon Dance, you get to +2 speed, and you're outspeeding everything, and you have the power of a Choice Band.
Yep. Strong as hell.
So yeah, I feel like Tyrantrum, like, it's not getting a lot of attention right now, but I think it's really going to start coming into its own as the tier stabilizes. And that's really no surprise. Ever since it's been around, it's either been too strong for RU like an RS, or really good like it was in Sun and Moon. So it's probably going to fit right at home in RU and be really good.
Yep. I actually didn't even like it that much in RU, even when like Pokemon like Raikou were around. Just because I didn't like the fact that like Steelix was on every team, so you either have a choice to click Earthquake, and there was Steelix was Noivern on every team, so you had a choice to either click Earthquake or you click whatever, and then Gliscott was there too, so if you click Earthquake, Gliscott came in. Like, I didn't like it as much. I think it's actually better now because the shift of things.
Yeah, and it having close combat, I can't stress enough how good that is for the Choice Band set in particular, because it just gives it a second spammable move. Like, it didn't really have that before. It was just head smash and not gonna miss.
Yeah. Now Nidoqueen is a mon that typically finds itself. Sometimes it finds itself in UU, but typically does find itself in the RU tier as the queen of the tier when it comes to special attacking. Like, no, hey, that's just basically what it is. It's the Nidoking of RU.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, Nidoking will typically be UU, Nidoqueen will be RU, and it's great. Shift Force hits so hard. You might even see like Thunder on it for Pokemon like Milotic at times. When Gligar was a Pokemon and was in the tier, you'd see Ice Beam and stuff like that. You might even see Fire Move for Bronzong when it was in the tier. Again, I'm talking more like about Sun and Moon and things like that. But it's basically there's no two Pokemon that will switch into me Pokemon.
Yeah, and Nidoqueen, I feel like every time she has been in RU, it's just been like the premier offensive Stealth Rock setter in the
easily.
And for good reason. Like, you have really good coverage. And the important thing is that coverage hits defoggers for super effective damage. The reason Thunderbolt is listed, Mantine, one hit KO, no questions asked, no defog for you, get out of my life.
2-hit KO Slowking too, which is a pretty big one.
Yep. And it's also a good offensive fairy resist, so it against Scarf Gardevoir, like, it's trying to revenge kill something with Moonblast. You might not want to use that immediately. I've got a Nidoqueen that can be an aggressive switch and then get a kill.
And I'm sure, like, as things get banned, we'll see Nidoqueen rise more, because like you said, right now the tier's really fast paced. So I don't like Nidoqueen as much as I would usually like it. I think it's still good offensively, but like, it's not really taking too many hits. But it's a ridiculous wall breaker in my opinion, even with base 75 special attack. It's crazy. They need to give Nidoqueen and Nidoking a buff. They're Gen 1 Pokemon. They deserve stat buffs. Like, Pokemon did not. We have Pokemon with 300 million attack, right? And then you got like this mon hits hard with 249 special attack. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. And I'm with you on like not liking Nidoqueen a ton right now. But Nidoqueen has always been at its best when bulky offense has been at its best, and it's not bad right now, but it's a little difficult to run.
Yeah.
But typically when it's kind of been the history for RU, but when the RU tier stabilizes
and Registeel's on every team.
Yep. Typically bulky offense is generally the preferred play style, and that's where Nidoqueen shines. So it's another one of those Pokemon. It's good now, expected to get better as the tier stabilizes.
Yep. You want to cover Beware?
Beware, this demon. Okay, so it's not like a demon, but it's really good.
It's not a drop either. You just had it on the list, right?
Yeah, it's been RU for a while. It's not a new drop or anything, but it's one of the existing RU Pokemon that didn't really suffer from the drops. It's still really good. It typically is going to be Swords Dance sweeping through your teams, using Fluffy backed bulk to take physical attacks as necessary, unless they're, fire types. And it also really benefits from Slowking dropping, because now it's got an amazing pivot into fire type attacks.
Yeah. Or just even Will-O-Wisp with status in general, because Slowking can just shrug it off and not really care too much.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Swords Dance Beware, I'll be honest. I like Choice Band the most, because I like a Pokemon that you always get value out of.
Whereas don't get me wrong, Choice Band is very good in its own right. I'm not trying to sell that short at all. Yeah. I just had Swords Dance listed because that's the one I've been using. Yeah, like I just had Swords Dance listed because that's the one I've been using. But I'm not going to try to knock Choice Band at all.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like I feel like, I mean, right now, the Blade isn't RU, but when the Blade inevitably becomes RU, Which
it's gonna happen, and that's where Sword Stance I think is really gonna take off, because then you have Darkest Lariat to smack it.
Exactly. You don't got Earthquake as well. Like you can actually just run the Darkest Lariat, which is nice. You hit the Decidueye plus AA, so you hit the Ghost types, which is really cool. And that Fluffy just makes it eat hits up. I love this mod. I'm surprised you didn't put Rhyperior on this list, by the way.
I just haven't seen Rhyperior a lot, and I feel it suffers even more from problems that Gigalith suffers from, because it's weak to ice attacks. It's absolutely destroyed by circuitry. Like I think I didn't list Rhyperior because I didn't want it to drag out a ton, but it's another one of those Pokemon. I think it'll get better when the tiers stabilize.
Yeah, it's a good balance mon as well, and a good balance breaker with Swords Instant Choice Band. I guess that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think it will be good. I just don't think it's great right now, if that makes any sense.
I get that. I love that.
You want your ground type to beat Arctozolt right now, and Rhyperior does not do that at all.
That makes sense. I love that Articuno is I always thought Articuno was viable, but I love the fact that it's viable because of heavy duty boots. Very, very viable.
This is yet another one that I don't think is good right now, but as the tier stabilizes, it gets a bit more bulky, balance based. I feel that's where Articuno will start to shine. And Heavy Duty Boots, godsend for this Pokemon. Absolutely amazing. Because similar to Archeops, if you use Articuno, you were using Hazard Control. You didn't have a choice in that if you wanted to perform anywhere close to decent.
I also want to know if you can probably slash Mirror Coat or Sub on one of these sets as well.
Yeah, for sure. You can go Sub Roost. You can probably put Sub over Heal Bell.
Yeah.
I just put Heal Bell as the primary option for more team support, but if you wanted Sub Roost Toxic pressure stalling, then yeah, Articuno can definitely do that. I'm not that's definitely a thing it can do. Now offensive sets, I'm not really sure how that's going to develop. I don't think those are going to be too great, because previously any offensive sets would need the power of Life Orb to really kind of hit home. But you absolutely have to have Heavy Duty Boots for this Pokemon to be good in any way, I feel like.
Well, if something like Sun becomes popular or anything, you could always tech Weather Ball in your if you want to run Articuno Sun as an anti-rain measure or something,
Throw out 50% accurate hurricanes
Yep. And the Weather Ball as well, outside of that. But no, it's true. It's one of those mons that offense is not where it's gonna thrive. It's not gonna thrive with offense, but defensively annoying as hell. Especially with pressure.
And Heavy Duty Boots just gives it so much more flexibility when you're wanting to use it on a defensive team, because I remember using this at some point in ORAS, and I had to have a spinner, I had to have a Steel type killer or switch in, and now I don't have to have necessarily that hazard control. You might still want it in case you get knocked off over the course of a match. And most all teams are probably going to want hazard control anyway, because spikes are annoying.
This mon can run defog as well if it wants to.
That's true. Yeah. But overall, it's so much better with Heavy Duty Boots. Whether it's viable in RU or not, I'm not entirely certain. Whether it will be on down the line, but I think at worst it's going to be viable in NU, and hopefully RU. I hope it is viable in RU.
I think one thing to note is that in terms of ice flying, it's only 2 times weak to electric, which I think is pretty big when it comes to Starmie and things like that in the tiers. So unless Starmie runs Power Gem.
How is Starmie down here?
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know if it'll stay down here, but
yeah.
Then again, who knows? Power Creep is crazy, right? You have a whole lot of Starmie answers down here.
Yeah, that's true. That kind of leads into the next Pokemon, Starmie. It's just I haven't heard a whole lot about it. Good, bad, and different. It feels like it's just a good stuff Pokemon. It's good, but it just kind of exists.
Yeah.
And I think that's like you said. There's plenty of answers down here. You've got Slowking down here. You've got
Gastrodon, Abomasnow.
You've got Gastrodon, you've got Abomasnow, you've got plenty of decent options to it. You've got Vileplume if it doesn't want to run ice coverage over something else.
Snorlax will shrug off some hits too. I think the only one that could break is Specs with Prediction, because I think Life Orb was just going to be too weak as well, even though we have it here. I think it's just going to be too weak to break.
Yeah. Like overall, it's just I don't think Starmie can be bad as far down
Yeah,
as
yeah,
RU.
no. I can't. I don't think it can be bad either.
And I do want to like emphasize like good stuff doesn't mean like oh it just exists or something like that. But no, good stuff means yeah it's good, but it's perfectly manageable and not super amazingly common. Like you're gonna see it. It can hit hard if you don't have good checks to it, but there are good checks to it.
Yep.
And most teams are going to end up carrying them for other reasons other than Starmie. Like obviously, if you get a weakened team and you get Starmie out, and maybe you've got Rapid Spin over Recover, get that +1 speed. Yeah, that's gonna clean up some weakened teams. But otherwise, like it's there, it's good. You need it. You definitely want answers to it, but those answers exist for for reasons other than Starmie.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like, I mean, Slowking exists because it's a water check. It just happens to be Starmie's a water type thing. That's why I'm saying, like, I think that Specs will be really cool with prediction because a Specs Psyshock will destroy, 2 KO easily, especially defensive Gastron, right? A Specs Thunderbolt Analytic will smack, like, Slowbro. It's not going to kill, or Slowking's not going to kill, but it's going to mean Slowking can't come in as easy.
Exactly.
So like this plus like a breaker, like a physical breaker, like Beware. Like I think this plus Choice Band Beware sound really cool because like you Thunderbolt, as Slowking comes in, Slowking kicks around 70% or so.
Yep.
If it's Specs and Analytic, they're gonna go Steelix, so you double out to Beware, and then you click Choice Band Close Combat. The Slowking's only gonna be at like 50% now, so it's 2 KO. So and you just max Steelix. So I think it'll be one of those mons that can open up a way, and I feel like if it does end up moving up from NU, it's not. Or RU, it's not because it was too much for RU. I don't think it'd be banned from RU. It's
it'll be because
it
got enough usage in UU.
Exactly. Speaking of usage in UU as well, I feel like the next Pokemon's one.
Crowbat's all the way down. So I just want to point out real quick, Crowbat is all the way down in NU right now. Like I have it listed in RU because it's good in RU, but it is all the way down in NU right now. This is how crazy these tier shifts have been.
Golbat's a viable Pokemon. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, like
it's viable.
Yeah, like Crowbat has been a perennial UU Pokemon for generations now. I think since Gen 4, I think, and it's starting in NU. That is how crazy these tier shifts were at the beginning of the month. Now, obviously, it's not going to stay down in NU. I think at worst, RU is going to take it by usage.
Yep.
Because it's really good utility. Heavy duty boots helps it a lot. It's got a really fast taunt. It can disrupt a lot of things. It can go more offensive, like with Sharp Beak or Choice Band, because Brave Bird is pretty powerful. It has Hurricane and Nasty Plot if you want to abuse that in the rain, like maybe Tornadus gets quick banned after the 15th. I'm not saying it will, but if it does, Crobat's an option to fill that slot. It's got a lot of good tools. It also has Defog, which I feel like I've never felt comfortable about Crowbat with Defog, but Heavy Duty Boots makes me a lot more comfortable because it's harder to counter pressure. That's always been its problem. It's weak to Stealth Rock as a Defogger. If you predict it switch in, that's heavy counter pressure against it.
And it also has 100% accurate Toxics, and I think that's really good with Heavy Duty Boots as well because, it's a premier fighting check, right? It's a premier fairy check. Toxic, Roost doesn't have to worry about being outplayed with Stealth Rock. Like, shoot, bro. The set he has here, though, Roost, Brave Bird, U-Turn, I feel like those are sets you're going to see on everything, almost. And, like, you might see, like I said, Toxic with Taunt, but for the most part, you'll see Roost, Brave Bird, and U-Turn on, like, every set, and then your last one will be, like, Taunt, Defog, or whatever. It's a cool Defogger as well, because it's a Defogger that doesn't give a damn about Passimian. Because, like, plus 2 Passimian isn't going to knock it out. Earthquake isn't going to... If they're running Gunk Shot, that's not going to knock it out, right? They have to be specifically running Rock Slide on their Scar Persimmon. If they're running Rock Slide, then they're not running Fairy coverage for the most part. So there's a lot of things that, like, are opened up with Crowbat. And it's a... I mean, I don't see it staying NU, that's for sure. It's not going to stay NU. It's going to
move up. Like I said, at worst, I think RU will take it by usage, and at best, UU will take it by usage. Like, it's not broken in RU. It's not going to get banned in RU or anything like that. But it's good. It's very solid. The EVs I have listed here is for base 120 speed Pokemon, but you can easily just go max if you want to, which you probably should anyway.
I think probably going max is worth it, because it could be other Crowbat.
But. Exactly. And Taunt plus Toxic is a very potent stall breaking combination. Stall's not common in RU right now, not by a long shot. But again, if and when the tier does stabilize, balanced teams are going to get more common. That's going to lead to potential stall teams. Crowbat, Taunt plus Toxic. It also gets Super Fang.
Yeah. Big one.
That's going to be really annoying for stall teams to face down in RU. So Crowbat, again, another one of those Pokemon that, yeah, it's probably going to rise on the 15th to RU, but it's going to get better as the meta stabilizes because it's more of a support Pokemon. It's typically not used for offense, and it's got really good support options.
Let's talk about another PU Pokemon we had here that got banned.
Oh my god.
Crazy, right?
Speaking of crazy teardrops, jeez Louise.
Yeah, I just want to say that this Mon was potentially almost banned in Sun and Moon from RU, just to let you know.
Yeah, it dropped.
It didn't get banned, but it dropped the PU now. Based on, I mean, why would I use this when regular Zygarde was viable and usable?
Zygarde 10% and Zydog, whatever you want to use for it. Basically it fast fell to PU, got quickly banned there, and then probably didn't last much more than a day or two after that and got banned in NU. So it is NUBL. It's probably going to rise to RU. I imagine. I've seen a decent amount of them, so it's probably just going to rise.
High speed tier. I mean, it's a big thing. It's a high speed tier, and it has the most spammable move in the game, right? No,
it's the House of Arrows. Yep.
1,000 arrows is crazy. Doesn't matter what you are. You can be flying type. I hit you. Has extreme speed as well to pick off faster Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bulky, right? It's very frail, very very frail. But like doesn't matter, right? When you're Dragon and Ground and you resist Dragon is the one that helps in this case, but like you resist like a fire type attack, right? You can shrug off one fire type attack from something and hit back hard with 1,000 arrows or Toxic. I put his third move over. I put Toxic before I put 1,000 arrows extreme speed and Toxic. I think on Choice Band that's always it. Like Toxic is just there for the bulky water lay. Maybe physically defensive Slowking isn't too KO'd, especially because of heavy boots. But you get that Toxic.
I've got Toxic too. Yeah.
And then I put the last one was Outrage, but like Scale Shot's possible too, and 1,000 Waves is another one you can use as well. So you can trap the opponent that comes in on you. That way they can't double after. And also I remember running Earthquake at a point too, just because why would you run 1,000 arrows in Earthquake? Well, I mean, one of them you need only when they have flying types, and if they have no immunities, why would you not go for the one that's stronger?
Exactly. Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah, and it having a Scale Shot, again, we kind of talked about it with Tyrantrum, but that makes Dragon Dance all the more harder to deal with because with Tyrantrum, the Scale Shot after Dragon Dance means, okay, I can't Revenge Kill this with Scarfers.
Yep.
Scale Shot with Zydog means you can't use Weather to Revenge Kill it.
Yep. Especially on Choice Band.
That fast.
Yeah, I don't think Dragon Dance is very good because there's no there's no Z
You're
moves.
using Choice Band.
Yeah,
you're using Choice Band. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. The only time we used Dragon Dance or Coil back in the generation was when we had Dragonium Z, so we could do a Gligar, right? So you get +2 on Gligar and then you knock it out. Or hopefully like Gligar could live that, to be honest. But Scale Shot is really cool on Banded because, like I said, or like he said, it's very tough to Revenge Kill Scale Shot with the Weather mode. Yeah. You can't.
And Choice Band overall is definitely the better set because you have 1,000 arrows and extreme speed. Those are very spammable moves. 1,000 arrows is a breaking move that doesn't care about your flying types.
Yep.
And extreme speed is incredible in a fast-paced meta like RU is right now. Anytime you can get strong priority is really, really good because it just is a way to say, I don't care about your speed, I'm killing you.
Yep. The big thing, especially based off base 100 mod. And lastly on this list, I put Kingdra, which Kingdra was not RU actually. Kingdra was NU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, it was NU. It got banned to NUBL, and we'll get into NUBL in a little bit. But Kingdra, it was RU. It dropped to NU with the tier shifts, and as we know, got banned to NUBL. I fully expect it to rise back to RU by usage because Drizzle is allowed in RU currently.
As a specs mod, it's ridiculous,
Yeah, I don't feel it's the best rain sweeper right now because of Mantines, Bidef, Gastrodon, and Slowking existing. But it's going to get used enough to where it's going to rise back up to RU by usage, I feel like.
I mean, you can also break those by using the Scope Lens Focus Energy set.
Yeah. I think that's actually the set that got it banned in NU.
Yes.
I don't remember for sure, but I think it was. But yeah, Specs is incredibly powerful. You can even run Flip Turn for some momentum to get some favorable matchups, like if you're using it outside of rain. It's just, I mean, you could use it outside of rain, just have it Swift Swim and just like discourage the crap out of
exactly,
rain
exactly.
teams.
One thing people commonly used in Black and White, was like you'd run a rain team that when Sand Rushers were allowed, you'd run like Excadrill on your rain team too. So that way, when they have the weather, you just reverse sweep them. So like that's easily something you could do. You could just toss a Specs Kingdra on like a balance or an offense, and it'll give you a momentum. First off, it gives you a nice little Barraskewda answer, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, 4 times water resistance. Yeah.
Granted, Bandit Close Combat will 2-hit KO you, and Barraskewda is faster in the rain.
Yep.
But still, that's really nice. And just in general, it's just it does hit hard. A base 95 across the board does hit hard. And I mean, it even has physical moves now because it has Dragonets. Well, it already had Dragonets, but it has Liquidation and Scale Shot, which is actually pretty important for this Pokemon because before it had Outrage and Waterfall. So it's like Outrage.
They're definitely both. Yeah.
Yeah. So Outrage was not the greatest thing because I mean we got fairy types, and obviously steel types go well as well. But like Scale Shot means you're not locked in, and I think it could be really cool too, like with this Pokemon.
Yeah, like Kingdra, like I'm not really sure how it felt to Inu honestly, but definitely with Drizzle being allowed in RU and maybe for the foreseeable future. Like I said, like Drizzle is very strong, but by a lot of accounts from top players, it's not like super over centralizing. Like
they're actually not. They're not going to follow the higher tiers this time, right? Like if Drizzle gets banned in UU, they already said they're retesting it in RU in December, which is interesting.
NU actually.
NU in December. That's interesting.
Now I don't know if they're following higher tiers. They might still be, but that's like their own plan. Like if UU or RU doesn't ban it, and that kind of is a nice segue into the. Basically the state of NUBL, because at the beginning of the month, all of NUBL was free. All Pokemon, all abilities that have been banned from NU previously were freed. I have a list of like NUBL Pokemon that are still like they haven't been rebanned. So that includes Drampa, Alola Executor, Haunter, Porygon 2, which was actually a November drop from RU. So I think I remember when I was sending you the quick drops, like for your like the quick discussion vid you did. Like I mentioned, this isn't going to matter unless NU freeze their BL tier, and well, guess what? They did, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sneasel, Tauros, Toxicroak, and Turtonator as well. All those Pokemon, they were previously in UBL. They are currently legal in NU, at least until the 16th. That is when they mentioned would be the earliest that they will do another set of quick bans.
Yeah.
And you touched on Drizzle. This was very interesting, I found. Similar to how RU doesn't seem like they're very hard-pressed to ban Drizzle at all right now. There are many players, apparently, in NU, and I'm going to give credit to Eternally for this post, one of the NU tier leaders, because I have absolutely no experience with NU. I've not played a game of it since Crown Tundra dropped. I don't know if you have or not, but I definitely have not.
No,
so I was just going straight by the announcement post of the bans and the reasoning behind them. But it does mention here that there were many people that felt Kingdra was the broken part of Rain. And many people that thought Rain itself was the broken part. So basically, through compromise, Drizzle is banned currently, but will be retested in December, and this obviously will be assuming UU or RU does not ban it beforehand.
Okay,
because it's still following higher tiers, because that's typically how Smogon
I don't actually like that. I don't like that too much. I think that the separate tier has its own thing going on.
I've never been the biggest fan of that personally, but I'm just kind of stating like for the viewers how this goes, how this is. But assuming UU and RU do not ban Drizzle before December, it will be retested in RU.
I feel like there's no way that UU doesn't ban Drizzle.
I'm gonna be honest, like in my UU games, it feels like the weakest weather, oddly enough. Now that might change, like with potential quick bans and such. But Sand has Dracozolt, Drought has Charizard, Venusaur,
and I guess like physical water.
Ninetales, Veil offense. Like it feels like the weakest weather right now. Now, granted, that will likely change with potential quick bans, but as of right now, like we can only speak on right now, obviously, because we can't predict the future or anything like that, because we have more changes coming up on the 15th. But as of right now, I don't think UU will ban Drizzle. It sounds like RU is not going to is not hard pressed to ban Drizzle, but this could obviously all change when we get more tier shifts on the 15th.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that basically like wraps it up, right?
Yeah, like RU is surprisingly balanced right now. Like, there's only really 2 Pokemon I think that are getting real hard consideration from the council, from the RU council. That being Tornadus and Arctozolt in particular. But as of right now, there are no plans to ban anything before the 15th. And we'll see what happens after that. There, like I said at the beginning, there's been no official hard date set for any potential bans after the 15th. I know Inu said on the 16th, maybe, but RU has not set a hard date. I don't believe UU has either, but we might talk more about that another time.
Well, UU is going to change anyway because, like, for example, they have Buzzwole, and Buzzwole's going back up to OU.
And RU is probably going to change as well because of UU drops and et cetera, et cetera. So things are going to change on the 15th. We know this, we understand this, and we can talk about it all we want, but we're not really going to be prepared for it until it happens, because, I mean, who freaking saw Psydog dropping to PU? Who saw Tyrantrum dropping to NU? Like, these are things like, we knew they were going to drop out of a tier, but we didn't know how, we didn't realize, like, wow, really? They fell that far down?
Yeah, it's crazy that Zygarde, I mean, but it makes sense, though, like, when you type in Zygarde, like, I don't know, man, like, I don't look at the dog before I look at the other one, but...
Yeah. No, I totally understand that, but I'm just saying, like,
it is insane.
It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict. Right now, we can only give you guys, the viewers, the information that we have, that we know, and the bit of experience that I have playing RU currently. And that's really all we have to go on, really, because the 15th is going to change everything again, or at least a lot of things.
Yeah, it is. And then December 1st is going to change it again. Like, these next 2 tier shifts are going to be insane. They're going to be insane. There's going to be a lot of bans.
The entire month of November, like, it's a good time to jump into playing a tier, getting used, like, at least kind of getting used to, like, the top players around it, getting to understand the people you can ask questions to, because it's just going to be such dynamic tier shifts, really. Yeah. The metagames are going to be completely different, so you're not going to be, like, as handicapped for getting into a new tier as you normally would be. Like, normally you jump into a new tier, there's so many other players that are a lot more experienced than you simply because they played it longer. Not as much the case right now, because the tier changes were so dynamic for November 1st, especially for UU, and it's going to be like that for all the lower tiers, I think, on the 15th and then the 1st of December.
Yeah, that's what happens when the game comes out a month earlier than everybody thinks it is, and SPL is actually not till January, and the draft is until December, and they do a lot of things based on tournaments coming out too. So I'm actually very grateful that we have this much time in between to try a lot of mons. But
absolutely,
yeah, I think that's it, guys. So thank you for watching. Do you want me to link your Twitter like I used to, or do you?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm in UU and RU Showdown rooms most of the time.
I like
whenever I'm not working.
Too.
Yeah, you can ask me questions on Smogon too. I don't post there nearly as much as I used to, but I'm always on there.
Well, yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and if you guys did like this, let us know. We'll definitely follow up with like UU and NU and those type of videos as well. So let us know. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.